Hi everyone, this is Alejandro Cremades, and today we're going to be talking about how to apply for an SBA loan. Before we get started, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, and this way you will never miss out on any of the videos that we roll out every week. The SBA is obviously synonymous of support for small businesses. In today's video, we're definitely going to be covering how to do the application, how to really make it happen, and how to secure those funds that would help your business grow. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what is the SBA? So the U.S. Small Business Administration started almost 70 years ago, back in 1953, in order to help small businesses either on starting out or on helping them during times of crisis. And we saw that, for example, how the SBA loans kicked in when we had the pandemic, the coronavirus. So again, it's the entity that the government is using in order to foster innovation, in order to foster the new jobs that are being created, and a great source for small businesses to really obtain access to financing. So in terms of the cons and criticism on the SBA, so up until recently, there wasn't really a lot of entrepreneurs really taking advantage of these programs just because of the nature of it. Typically, there was a lot of red tape. It was very difficult to gain access to that money. The applications were a little bit of a burden, and entrepreneurs actually preferred going to the more traditional sources and investors that wouldn't put those hurdles that come with taking money from the government. So that was up until recently when coronavirus hit, when you saw the Paycheck Protection Program, those PPP loans that really helped entrepreneurs and also the owners of small businesses in order to maintain their business during those difficult times. Now, I guess this has opened really the mindset and also the way that people are now perceiving the SBA loans as a potential good method in order to get those companies up and running. So what's a small business anyway? And who are those small businesses that really qualify in order to get the SBA involved? So according to the SBA, in order to really qualify, the small business needs to be the following: be a for-profit business of any legal structure, be independently owned and operated, not be nationally dominant in its field, be physically located and operate in the U.S. or its territories. Obviously, what is considered a small business could vary per industry. Now, one thing that is critical that the SBA is going to require is that your business is in a position or has a corporate structure that is in essentially paying those taxes to the IRS. So some of those things are going to be critical, and without that, it's going to be impossible for you to apply to those programs that they have for loans. So what does the SBA do? According to certain blog posts that the organization has published by some of the leadership, the SBA has three main things: capital, contracts, and counseling. So there's also mentorship, especially when we're talking about those contracts that the SBA is going to connect you with, and that is with perhaps the SCORE program, where there is essentially mentors that are helping some of those small business owners in order to really understand what is the best path forward and how they should be executing in order to build their business. Now, when it comes to the loans, the actual loans, the first one is the SBA 7A. Type of loan. Now, this loan, exactly what you want to go for is up to $5 million, and some of the requirements are going to be the following: SBA loan application form 1919, personal history, personal financial statement, business financial statements and forecasts, P&L statements, business licenses, 3 years of personal and business tax returns, resumes of the principals of the company, copies of leases. Then you got the SBA 504 loans. Those are essentially for acquiring assets, and they can also go up to 5 million. And some of the requirements are going to be the following. Be a US-based for-profit company. Have a net income of less than 5 million after taxes. Have a net worth of under 15 million. Must have a feasible business plan. Have qualified management expertise. Then you have the SBA microloans. Those are the typical ones that are fantastic for startup companies. They are much easier to actually apply for and much easier to get. So if you're starting your business out, maybe a hyper-growth company, a company from scratch, and you don't know how to start, or perhaps some money that you need to start the operation, to pay for the website, for the servers, or even the graphic design, or perhaps even the incorporation, maybe of certain parts of the business or documentation with your lawyers, this is a great program that you could use. Then you have the economic disaster loans. Those are some of the ones that you saw during the pandemic, during the coronavirus, and they can go up to 2 million. Then you have the SBA investment capital. Now, this is less known. This is where they perhaps partner up with some institutions that are deploying the capital, and some of the ways in which you have to keep in mind that this money is deployed is the following. Debt in the form of a pure loan. Equity funding in exchange for a share of ownership, a combination of both equity and debt funding. So how would you start the application? Where do you go? How does this work? So some of the steps, the step-by-step that you need to really take into consideration to make it happen from point A to point C is the following. Research the qualifications. Choose a lender or intermediary. Complete the loan application. Send follow-up documents and wait until you get a response. Now, there's also alternatives to the SBA and to the loans and some of those financing structures that we have been discussing. Some of the most common are the following. Friends and family, angel investors, venture capital firms, private equity funds, strategic units of big corporations. Additionally, you also have business grants, you have perhaps competitions from universities, accelerators, incubators programs that can actually help. That could be a great alternative if you're starting up. So hit a like on this video, leave a comment, let me know what you're up to, and then also subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on all the videos that we're rolling out every week. And if you're raising money, send me an email at alejandro@pantheraadvisors.com. I would love to help you out with your capital raising efforts. Thank you so much for watching.